This morning, we received a letter from our banker forwarding a letter from the EFCC instructing the bank to freeze Osun State Government account. This action was taken without any court order. We are supposed to be in democracy, where the rule of law must always prevail. We will therefore not accept any situation where federal agencies trample on the constitutional right of subnational governments.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Pivot Report. If you've been following the news recently, you've probably seen the headlines coming out of Osun State. Governor Ademola Adeleke has accused the EFCC of directing a bank to place one of the state's accounts on Post No Debit status. And because this is happening just days before a major election, it is already generating a lot of debates. But here's the thing, this story isn't just about Osun State. It isn't even just about the EFCC. It's about something much bigger than that Nigeria has struggled with for years. So today, let's slow down, separate the politics from the fact, and look at what history can teach us about moments like this. Let's get into it. The controversy began when Governor Ademola Adeleke alleged that the EFCC directed a commercial bank to place one of the Osun State Government's accounts on what is known as the Post No Debit restriction. Now, if you're wondering what that actually means, it is quite straightforward. A Post No Debit, often shortened to PND, is a restriction placed on a bank account that prevents money from being withdrawn or transferred out of that account. In simple terms, the account may still receive money, but funds generally cannot leave it until the restriction is lifted. At the time this video was produced, the EFCC had not publicly responded to that allegation. For supporters of the governor, this raises a troubling question. Can anti-corruption agency take such action so close to an election without creating the appearance of political interference? For others, the question is different. Should anti-corruption agencies pause investigations simply because an election is approaching? This is no longer just an Osun story. It is a story about power. It is a story about institutions. And perhaps, most importantly, it is a story Nigeria has faced before under different governments, different political parties, and different generations. Because whenever anti-corruption collides with electoral politics, one question always returns: where does justice end and where does justice begin? It is tempting to see this as simply another political disagreement, but doing so would miss the larger issue. The strength of any democracy depends not only on elections, but also on whether its institutions are trusted. When citizens believe that anti-corruption agencies are being used for political purposes, confidence in those institutions begins to weaken, even if investigators are acting lawfully. On the other hand, if anti-corruption agencies hesitate to act whenever elections are near, genuine cases of corruption could go unchecked. This creates a difficult balance. How do you fight corruption aggressively while ensuring that justice is seen to be impartial? That question has confronted democracies around the world, and Nigeria has wrestled with it repeatedly over the past 2 decades. This is where history will help explain why today's controversy has attracted so much national attention. To understand why the Osun controversy has generated such intense debate, we have to step away from this headline and look at Nigerian recent political history. This is not the first time that an anti-corruption investigation has collided with electoral politics. Over the past 2 decades, several governors, former governors, ministers, and politically exposed persons have found themselves under investigation by agencies such as EFCC. In many of those cases, supporters argue that the investigations were politically motivated. Opponents argue that the law should never wait for politics. Take the case of former Ekiti State Governor Ayo Fayoshi. His legal battles with the EFCC stretched across several years, involving allegations of financial crimes, restriction on assets, and prolonged court proceedings. Fayoshi consistently maintained that he was being politically targeted. The EFCC consistently maintained that it was simply carrying out its legal mandate. Whether one agreed with either side was almost beside the point. The bigger issue was this: every major investigation involving a powerful politician quickly became a debate about the politics rather than law. That pattern has repeated itself across different administrations, different presidents, different political parties, different governors. Yet the argument remains remarkably similar. When investigations happen close to elections, suspicions often grow faster than evidence. That is why the current Osun controversies feels familiar. Not because the facts are necessarily the same, but because the public questions are. There is another reason this story deserves careful attention. It reminds us that public confidence in institutions depends on 2 different things. The first is legality. The second is perception. Legality asks that the institutions act within the powers granted by law. Perceptions ask something different. Will ordinary Nigerians believe the institutions acted fairly? Those 2 questions do not always produce the same answer. An action may ultimately be found lawful by the courts. Yet, if millions of citizens believe it was politically motivated, public trust can still suffer. Conversely, delaying legitimate investigations simply because elections are approaching could send another dangerous message. That powerful politicians enjoy temporal immunity whenever campaign season begins. Neither outcomes threaten democracy. Strong democracies depend on institutions that are both independent and publicly trusted. That is why transparency matters. When agencies explain the action clearly, when governments provide evidence rather than accusations, when courts are allowed to resolve disputes impartially, public confidence becomes easier to maintain. The Osun controversy is therefore about much more than one government account. It is about whether Nigerians continue to trust the institution designed to protect democracy itself. History rarely repeats itself in exactly the same way, but it often repeats the same questions. Every generation of Nigerians has debated whether anti-corruption agencies are acting independently or under political influence. Every administration has faced accusations from its critics. Every opposition has, at one point or the other, questioned the neutrality of state institutions. That alone should remind us that this debate is larger than today's political actors. Governments change, opposition parties change, political alliances change, but institutions remain. If institutions lose public confidence, rebuilding that confidence can take years. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson from Nigeria's democratic journey. The health of a democracy is measured not only by who wins election, but by whether citizens believe the rules are applied fairly before, during, and after those elections. And that is exactly why the Osun controversy deserves national attention, not because it is unique, but because it forces Nigeria to ask difficult questions that have echoed across multiple administrations. As this story continues to unfold, there are several possible paths ahead. The first is that the EFCC issues a detailed public explanation outlining the legal basis for any action taken against the account. Such a response could clarify the facts and help Nigerians judge the controversy based on evidence rather than speculations. The second possibility is that the matter moves to the courts. If that happens, judges, not politicians or commentators, would determine whether the action complied with Nigerian law and whether due process was followed. A third possibility is that the dispute remains largely in the political arena, with competing narratives shaping public opinion long before any legal resolution is reached. History suggests that this is often the most difficult outcome. Once public trust becomes divided, restoring confidence can take much longer than resolving the legal questions themselves. Whatever happens next, one principle should remain constant. In a constitutional democracy, institutions are strongest when they are both independent and accountable. Independence without accountability invites suspicion. Accountability without independence weakens justice. For Nigerians watching this story, the challenge is to follow the evidence as it emerges, not to reach conclusions before the facts are fully established. The Osun controversy may eventually be resolved in court through official statements or through further investigations, but its significance goes beyond one state, one election, or one political party. It reminds us that democracy is not tested only on election day. It is tested every time an institution exercises power. It is tested every time government challenges those institutions. And it is tested every time citizens must decide whom to trust. Whether you believe Governor Adeleke's allegation raised serious concern, or you believe the EFCC is simply carrying out its legal responsibility, one thing is certain: Nigeria benefits when institutions act transparently, government respects the rule of law, and disputes are resolved through evidence rather than emotion. History teaches us that democracies endured not because controversies never happen, but because institutions are strong enough to withstand them. The real question is not simply what happens in Osun. The real question is what Nigerian learns from it. If you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe, share this video, and join the conversation below, because understanding history is one of the best ways to understanding today's Nigeria. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.